Have you ever looked at a property and thought, this could be a really great deal, only to realize that the seller is completely out of touch with reality? That's exactly what happened with this one. I toured the property, I ran the numbers, and despite some potential, the asking price really killed the deal. Let's break down why I walked away and why saying no is one of the most important skills in real estate investing. So let's take a look at the property. This is the property in question. It's in West Akron. It's 1128 Cordova Avenue in Akron, Ohio. It is a two-bed, one-bath, 840 square foot property on a 5,000 square foot lot. Now, normally I like to look at the pictures first, but let's take a look at a few things in the description first before we get to that. A couple things I want to highlight is so it's an off-market listing. It was listed for $83,900, did not sell. And then what's important here, last sold in 2023 for $50,000. It's important to keep that in mind because it's going to be hard. It may be hard to get the seller, if the seller has unrealistic expectations, to get the dollar amount closer to $50,000, even if that's what the real world value is. Another thing to keep in mind, the estimated value, according to Realtor.com, is here at $79,800. Now, that's based on comparable sales of comparable sized homes in the area, and I get that, but what this also isn't going to take into consideration is some of the details that we're going to point out right now. The details in the interior and exterior description, I'll be honest, sometimes I gloss over these too quickly. That's a mistake on my end and a mistake, with this property. But a couple of things you want to hone in on. Where it says heating and cooling, there's no mention of central air. There is no central air, which has good and bad with it. The good is if you're buying this primarily to use as a rental, the tenant's going to be responsible for having to buy and install window air units. And the good thing is that means that you're not responsible for maintaining a central air unit. Central air units obviously are expensive, and when those go bad, having to replace them is going to really eat into the returns for that year. So not having to maintain a central air unit is an advantage, but then in terms of resale value and appreciation, that's going to hurt resale value because if you're selling it to a potential buyer that wants to, live in this as their home, that's going to negatively affect resale. Another thing that's going to affect resale negatively is there's no true basement here. Most homes in the Akron market are going to have true basements. Not necessarily finished basements, but basements nonetheless. This has a crawl space. The crawl space, I've been in tighter crawl spaces. This one I could technically stand up in. I'm 5'11", but it was cramped and I had to kind of tilt my head and bend over sometimes depending upon how deep I was in the crawl space. It's non-functional space at the end of the day. It's a dirt floor with a traditional basement. Families are going to be able to have their kids go down there and play, store stuff down there, put a washer and dryer down there. This isn't going to work for those purposes. There's a water softener and a water tank down there, as best as memory serves. But aside from that, really not going to be able to do anything with the space. So back to the estimate of $79,800. That's not taking into those factors, taking those factors into consideration, which are going to hurt resale value. So keep that in mind. Now let's take a look at the pictures. Exterior from the photos looks good. And the front side of the building was reasonably well maintained, as was the landscaping. The interior was in good shape. You want to pay attention here that there's a rug in the center of the floor here. I would be cautious about that. I don't remember what the inside of this looked like because I viewed this property closer to Christmas time. I would lift that up and make sure there's no big stain or big defect in the carpet here, because that may be a very valid reason why there's a random carpet over top of other carpet. The walls, as best as I can remember, were wood paneling that were painted. Aesthetically, everything looks nice. And again, the carpet, with that exception, was in reasonably good shape. Cosmetically, everything looks to be pretty good. The kitchen area was very nice with the new appliances there. However, it isn't incomplete. remodel, obviously, because you got the natural wood look right here, mixed in with the grays, whites, and the stainless steel appliances. So to claim that this was a complete upgrade through and through is not the case, but nonetheless very functional. Let's keep going here. Bathroom looked reasonably nice. Again, everything as best as I can remember from this house from the inside. No big red flags. The red flags to me was the price, okay, relative to the size of the building. Again, another thing I like to do is look at the exterior view and look at the neighborhood. Neighborhood wasn't bad. What attracted me to this property initially was the fact that I own a rental very close to this one, and it would be very convenient to have the two properties that were within maybe a minute or two drive from one another. This right here is a barrier. This is Interstate 76. So again, going back to the value of the property, I'm sure being literally right in front of a highway is going to affect desirability, resale value. So the asking price of $83,900, I feel like was completely unreasonable. I don't remember what our offer was, but we made a cash offer on this, and the real estate agent very quickly responded, balking at the offer and like, oh, this is. They didn't say it was insulting, but basically like, there's no way we're going to take this. And then the property didn't sell. Surprise, surprise. Now, you can't see this from this image, but on the back side of the property, there were some, I believe, some issues with the gutters, not completely attached. The backside was kind of dingy looking. It needed power washed. Some minor cosmetic related, issues on the backside of it that weren't really deal breakers to me, but worth noting. Again, if you have a ladder, a set of tools, and are even minorly handy, fixing that up is not going to be a problem. But what keyed me into this property was the neighborhood looked reasonably well. It was very close to another one of my properties. The price, the price wasn't good, to be honest, but the price is still relatively low. But the issue is not so much, well, it was low, so I need to jump on it. The issue was the raw cash on cash returns were not going to be really great. So let's talk about that for a few moments. The raw cash on cash returns at $83,900, we're going to put it around 12%. And I get that for some people listening may think, wow, that's really good compared to my market. But compared to the market here, there's plenty of room for improvement there. Personally, I'd like to see this, if I was going to buy it, I'd like to see it closer to 60,000 personally. 60,000 may be very wishful thinking, considering that it sold for 50. But to think that it's going to go from 50,000 to 83,900, given the size and given the limited updating that they've done, is really unreasonable. And that's one thing that's very frustrating about these types of endeavors, is you'll see people do bogus, incomplete, and crappy, to be honest, updates on these really terrible properties and then want premium dollars for it. On the other hand, you'll see you can see properties that have done where the owner has done really, really, really nice updates. If you walk through enough houses, you'll be able to spot the differences very, very quickly. But the math didn't work out for what I wanted. We passed because I got the impression there was really no room for negotiation. When we were going back and forth, we may have landed on like 80, and it's like that's not good enough. Again, the appreciation factor, I think, is going to be compressed because there's no basement, there's no central air. It's a very small square footage home. Incompleted updates. That's all going to affect the overall value of the property, in my opinion, and that matters, despite the fact that while the cash on cash at $83,900 may be good relative to other markets is great, and the numbers and math may work out for some people, but for me, it was too low. I'm more selective. I'm more picky about what I want to get into, and to me, the numbers just didn't make sense. So we walked away, and to me, it is reassuring to look back at this months later and to see that the property didn't sell. It reinforces to me that, I'm not crazy. I'm not being. It's not me being super stingy. Um, you know, Obviously, other investors in the area thought the same thing. So that's what happened. That's why we walked away. The math just wasn't good enough. And I hope this helps.